Hey guys, I'm Tom the Tech Chap, and this is the Realme 8 Pro. Now, I'm not entirely sure what Realme are daring me to leap into or at with this. Maybe I can dare you guys to watch to the end of the video and then like and subscribe. But actually, considering this costs just £279, I know it's a bit of a cliche, but I think it's a really good all-rounder with a surprisingly good camera. So if you are looking for a decent, affordable phone, I think the 8 Pro is definitely worth a look. So there's no mistaking Realme's unique bright yellow box. You can spot one of these from a mile away, and you can see we're getting the main specs on the back. Inside we get the usual gubbins, paperwork, a clear case, which is always nice to have, and then there's the USB-C cable, and also Realme's 50-watt super dart charger. This will get you up to 50% in just 17 minutes, and that's your lot. Well, and the phone. So the big upgrades with the 8 Pro is that we're getting the latest Realme 2.0 software, that's on top of Android 11, a much higher quality 108 megapixel camera, that's up from 64 on the 7 Pro, and it's also 0.7 millimeters thinner and 6 grams lighter, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's actually pretty impressive just how sleek this is. The design is definitely eye-catching, I'm sure you'll agree. I'm not sure I love it, but it certainly lives up to the infinite bold design that Realme is going for it. And actually I do like just how thin and light this is, considering we're getting a 6.4-inch screen. And if I bring it right up to the camera, you might be able to make out we've got this textured back, and also it shimmers off the light. But it's certainly eye-catching, and we've got this glossy, contrasting Dare to Leap logo. And the best part of this textured finish is it doesn't pick up smudges or fingerprints, and it also doesn't feel slippery to hold. And to be honest, it's actually quite refreshing to see and feel something a little bit different. Looking around the phone, we have this small hole-punch selfie camera in the top left corner. We get an in-screen optical fingerprint reader, although it also supports face unlocking. On the left side is the dual SIM and micro SD card slot, so you can expand the storage. And then on the bottom, next to the single speaker, we get a 3.5mm headphone jack. Oh, and one thing I've also noticed, having come from the 7 Pro, this is the Realme 7 Pro, the haptic motor is quite a bit better in the 8 Pro. It just feels a bit more nice. How do you describe good vibrations? Except for playing a Beach Boys song. Now, speaking of last year's Realme 7 Pro, it was only back in October that I reviewed the 7 and the 7 Pro, so you can maybe forgive this for not being a huge upgrade. And actually, other than the slimmer design and the better camera, it's pretty much the same. Same price for a start, it uses the same Snapdragon 720G chip, which is getting a bit long in the tooth now. Same 6.4-inch 60Hz AMOLED screen, same 4500 mAh battery, and the same, actually no, slower 50-watt charging, down from 65 watts on last year's 7 Pro. So it's definitely an evolutionary update, and maybe if you missed the boat on the 7 series and you're looking to upgrade, then it's worth considering the 8 series, but it has only been about 5 months. The trouble is though, the competition's got even better, so I think the Realme 8 Pro does have a bit of a fight on its hands to actually stand out. Let's talk about this camera, because I think it is the biggest upgrade here. Not only the higher 108 megapixel resolution, but it's also using this new and bigger Samsung HM2 ISOCELL sensor. So we're getting a quad camera setup with the main lens, an ultra-wide with a 119-degree field of view. We don't get a telephoto lens, but you can zoom in, and actually it stitches together multiple 12-megapixel shots, giving you a pretty good quality 3x zoom. It's not quite an optical zoom, but it's definitely better than digital. We're also getting a macro lens for close-up shots, and finally we're also getting a black and white lens, which not only gives you higher quality black and white filters, but it actually helps the main camera capture more light to improve the quality of photos and portraits. I must admit, I am quite impressed with the quality of the photos I'm getting out of this, especially considering the price. They're detailed, colors look realistic, even edge detection and portraits look good. Although it can struggle with dynamic range, brighter areas can get blown out a little bit. As standard, photos are pixel binned, so 9:1, but you can shoot in the full 108 megapixel resolution, although I think you'd be hard pressed to tell them apart unless you zoom right in. Another new addition is this Starry mode, which gives you a 4-minute long exposure, along with a Starry Sky time-lapse video mode. And if you swipe to the More tab, you'll find a Pro mode if you want to tinker with your shots, dual view video, and also this AI mixed portrait video, which lets you shoot a double video exposure, say of a landscape and then a person, and merge the two. But the results are, well, Interesting. Still, lots to play with, and around the front we have a 16 megapixel selfie, which does a pretty good job, and actually surprisingly for this budget, we're also getting a night mode with the selfie camera. Video tops out at 4K with the rear camera, although it's still not stabilized, so I'd keep it set to the standard 1080p. Now I must admit, I would have liked to have seen maybe a newer or slightly more powerful processor in here, along with perhaps a high refresh 90 or 120Hz screen, but it's still pretty capable. I didn't have any issues with the apps and games I tested on this. I did notice the occasional stutter as you swipe around, but actually the new Realme UI 2 software is a big step up. It's a custom version of ColorOS, so it feels similar to using an Oppo phone, but there's a ton of customization options. Icon styles, colors, I switched to this Real Choice font, which I think looks a little bit nicer. You can really make this your own. A little tip though is to go into the About Phone settings, tap on version, and then tap on build number 8 times to unlock the developer options, and in there scroll right down and then turn these 3 duration and scale options down to 0.5 times. I just find it helps make everything feel a little bit snappier to use. I'll tell you what though, one benefit of sticking with a 60Hz AMOLED screen and a slightly lower power processor is that the 4500 mAh battery in here goes a long way. Battery on this is really good. I've been carrying this around and had it in my pocket for the past week or so, and I've been finding that by the end of a normal day with regular use, I'm still having about 35 to 40% of my battery left. So you'll easily get a day and a half out of this, maybe even 2 days with a bit of rationing. Plus the 50-watt super dart charger tops it up nice and quickly. There is still no wireless charging, but that's to be expected at this price. It's a good problem to have, but I think we're kind of spoiled for choice now with a range of great affordable / budget phones. I do think if gaming is a priority for you, then maybe look for a phone with a high refresh rate and maybe a more powerful processor, but with a unique design, good camera with lots of fun modes to mess around with, much slicker software with tons of options, albeit also with tons of pre-installed bloatware you'll want to hide away in folders, great battery life, and while we don't have the latest processor in here, actually, 8 gigs of RAM plus 128 storage and microSD card support, all for £279, I think is a pretty good value option. But what do you reckon? Would you be tempted to buy one of these? And also, if you've got any other questions at all, let me know in the comments below. Plus, I will leave links to this in the description if you want to check it out. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time right here on the Tech Chat.